Hey, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning on December 19th, 2024. We're counting down the days, Dave. Only one day left for our show this year.
Yes, and we should give ourselves, more than a lump of coal for our dutiful research and what we do in the community.
Well, I'll give you permission to have a cup of coffee. Cheers, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Cheers, yes.
And here's our now that we're coming close to the end of the year, here's our award-winning prize, some glue, because it's the closest thing to me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so before we get into this, there was kind of suggestive things we should do for Christmas. You love this one. Host an ugly sweater party. You know the ones where you've got to have the worst Christmas sweater, right? It's got to have baubles on it or Santa Claus on it or something like that.
Something garish.
Yeah, yeah. Uglier the better, and you actually give away a prize for the ugliest sweater, right?
What was that movie? What was that movie? Something Jones. That it was a British movie. It had Colin Firth in it, and it was based on one of Jane Austen's books, something Jones or something like that. You remember? And
Yeah, I don't know the name. Don't know the name, but I think I know what the movie you're talking about. Yeah,
Zellweger was in it. Firth was in it. And at one point there, Colin Firth, who was kind of a stuffy, sort of dowager looking guy, they go to the Christmas party and he had to wear this stupid Christmas shirt to please his mother, and he wasn't too pleased about it the whole time. And that, I think, is a kind of perfect. Last night, actually, there was a guy I was at a Toastmaster party last night, and one of the guys there had a Merry Christmas sweater, the typical type, it was red and garish and Merry Christmas on it. And it's just a Christmas.
All right. Okay, another one. Make eggnog.
Make eggnog. Well, if you get my mother used to make this awesome eggnog, and I don't know where her recipe's gone. I've never been able to get it exactly like she had it. And it is wonderful. It used to be my favorite when I was a kid, eggnog. Store-bought eggnog's okay, but it doesn't really hold a candle to the stuff that your mother or grandmother made.
Well, that's true.
I think that recipe kind of.
Yeah. Another one which you'll probably recommend that should be done all the year round: volunteer in your community.
Yeah, it's nice now. It's nice to be open-handedly generous if you can be this time of year, because there's a lot of people left wanting this time of year, and it's a lonely time for a lot of people, as we will see a little later as we go through other news articles. But
yep, we got one of them.
Yeah, this is a time where a year where they're trying to tap you. Everybody's trying to tap you for a little bit more generosity. The Salvation Army kettles, as you can see if you walk past them, there are people manning the Salvation Army kettles, and that kind of thing helps. But even a private donation will go a long way to help. Usually a family, they buy toys and all that other stuff, but there's also winter coats and other things that are required. in the wintertime. So
Yeah.
if you want to make a Christmas for somebody, the Salvation Army has been on that for a very long time.
Yeah. The next suggestion here is have a Christmas movie marathon. No! Actually, I'd say this year I've seen probably there's one Christmas film you need to watch. You can forget everything else. Right? It's called Red One.
Which is that?
It's a movie. It's a movie where it's basically Red One being kind of you know who Red One is, of course, Santa, right? And basically there's the guy whose job it is to protect him, the elf from the North Pole whose job it is to protect him, right? And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Just kind of not your average Christmas movie, let's put it that way. It is just superb, right?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I traditionally like to watch the Scrooge one.
Well, yeah, I'm just
by,
saying, just saying because it's different, right? Yep.
Yeah. The Christmas Story is also a really good one where Ralphie wants to get his BB gun, the Red Ranger, whatever it is. That's hilarious. Actually, it was filmed largely here in St. Catharines.
Okay.
It's called I think it's just called The Christmas Story. And if you ever see, I've got one here too, a leg lamp, a leg with a fishnet stocking on, and the lamp shade is kind of looks something like a mini skirt, on that lamp leg. And that anytime you see that, that's that comes from that movie, and it's in a lot of households now as part of Christmas because of that movie. You can buy a leg lamp and just store it away. I got a little one about this big. I haven't got a full size one, but I had so that comes out at Christmas, of course.
I'm trying to see what you're talking about. Leg lamp Christmas. Oh yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, so just like a lady's foot, but this one looks like a left hand leg with a fancy lamp on the top with the light and cover on the top. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, okay. I learned something. All right. Okay, so we'll leave the others of those for tomorrow. Right.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. So Doug Ford is making his case against Trump's tariffs in the U.S. media. There we go. Well done, Dougie.
Doug is fighting.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else is jumping through hoops to get a better border security and stuff like that, like Legault from the Premier of Quebec and Smith from the Premier from Alberta have already tried to get quicker and smarter with their border. Ontario's taking a different tack. We're not going to be pushed around type thing.
Yeah.
They're going, hi, Nancy. So they're going to fight fire with fire if they can. Unfortunately, I think, well, of course, this the bully tactics that Trump uses really got people hopping up here, particularly at a time when our government is extremely weak. Our finance minister just quit in a flurry of controversy, and our budget went way over. I don't know. Dougie is doing something else. He's gonna play tough, or so it looks like in the short run. He's going to shut off power for 1.5 million people in the States if they get tough with us. But Trump will pick which tariffs he wants. If he doesn't want tariffs on oil, because if the oil that comes out of Canada, well, if he puts a tariff on that of 25%, it will add $1 per gallon of gasoline to U.S. consumers. And so he might not do that. And the electricity that comes out of Hydro-Quebec, if he does that too, that would be extremely costly to the American consumer. So basically, the bully talk can have its own consequences, and Doug Ford knows that. Just a minute, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, that's an important factor here, is that Doug Ford knows the fact that it's better to speak from a position of strength than it is from a position of weakness. Don't kowtow to Trump. Be a strong man, because he says, both sides of the border are going to feel the pain. We rely upon each other. Absolutely correct. How many things that if you just go over the border, just into the first 100 miles of the US, how many Canadian products do you find there? And conversely, when you're the first 100 miles of the Canadian side, how many US products do you find here? It's part of our everyday shopping. We buy US stuff all the time, and vice versa, right? A trade war doesn't do anything for each other. Certainly not the border country.
Well, Trump is right in certain aspects where our border facilities are terrible.
That may be true. That may be true.
And it's been a growing problem because nobody really cared much about it when 1 or 2 or 3,000 people crossed the border from Canada into the States. But now that it's up to 20,000 plus, and they're walking across the border like nobody's business, and plus Canada has very, very porous immigration system, whereas we've already found a couple of very dangerous Al Qaeda and ISIS types getting into the country. One had actually a lot of red flags on him already, and he got into the country and became a citizen resident, and yet he was full of red flags as with his activities with ISIS.
Well, we reported on that one a few months back, didn't we?
Yeah, and then there was two of, and the latest one was a guy who had planned to go down to New York City and shoot up Jewish neighborhoods, and the other one was going to. The first one they caught was going to blow up stuff in Canada and kill a lot of people in Canada. So our immigration, our border facilities are not very good. Plus, in Vancouver, which is one of our biggest ports, only 1% of all containers are ever had a look. Nobody looks at them. 1%, that's all we have the facility to do. So we don't have the facilities to really even check the kind of containers that are coming in the country. And we haven't made the ingredients for fentanyl illegal. In the United States, these chemicals are made illegal. The pressure is being put on Mexico to make those components, importing those components illegal. But here in Canada, we haven't done it yet. Well, I think we just did it overnight. And these things we should have been doing a long time ago. As a matter of fact, Legault in Quebec has asked for these border security facilities that Trump is talking about for years.
A long time.
As soon as Trump said, we're going to put this 25% tariff, suddenly it's in the budget, $1.3 billion.
Yeah.
Suddenly. Like these things that should have been done. So on the dark side of it, we're looking at tariffs, but on the other side of it, I got it. And Legault said the same thing. He says, I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but we've been asking for these things from our own federal government for a long time, and Trump just says a few words, and suddenly we get what we've been asking for years.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a silver lining in this. Maybe we can secure our border a little bit better. It would help us too. Remember, the amount of fentanyl comes the other way as well from the States into Canada, but massive amounts of guns are coming in, illegal guns. And our government wants to make hunting rifles illegal. But at the meantime, spend a lot of money on that and chasing down people's private gun collections from people who own them and are responsible citizens. And yet it took them months before they would even mention the amount of guns that were coming illegally in from the United States. There are something like 600,000 illegal guns, anywhere from, they don't know the exact number, but it's something like 250,000 to 600,000 illegal guns in the States right now. And a lot of those go past our border, and that's why our gang violence is going up and why our gun crime is going up. So it will work both ways.
It does. Yeah.
So that could be the silver lining,
Yeah. Okay. Peter Bike, it's hard to believe what politicians say, especially when they don't seem to believe it either. Words minus action equals zero. And Trump is asking to raise the debt ceiling. Already this fall will bury Canada and then the USA. Says Mike. Okay, Trudeau should be shown to the border and told never return. Yeah, well, I get some people who think that way. Yep.
Remove his citizenship.
Canadian misfits, we call him, right?
Yeah.
I don't agree with the sentiment, Betty, but I understand where you're coming from, right? Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, Trudeau is sitting in that place where Kathleen Wynne has talked about, where you're surrounded by sycophants telling you how good you are, and it blinds you. And a lot of political leaders in Canada.
No, he's worse.
Well, yeah, he's worse, but it's the same process. Whether it was Mulroney when he had to go, whether it was Kathleen Wynne when she had to go, they're surrounded by people that tell them, no, everything's fine. And we can see right now that some of Trudeau's cabinet ministers are supporting him. There are, 9 or 10 have walked away from him, but the other ones are saying, oh, everything's fine. He's the best man for the job. Well, who's he listening to? He's listening to those people with the positive message that we can do it. We're a good family. All we have to do is stick together. Well, no, his time has come. He will have a walk in the snow. And as I've said from the very beginning, 111 will be the time when he walks away.
You have not said at all from the very beginning. You've been 1 month, like every time you've been saying a month ahead and a month ahead and a month ahead, and it's never happening. As I said, the guy's an idiot. He doesn't realize that he just lost 9 members of his cabinet. 9, right? That should be a clear picture. Justin, listen to us here at Talking Niagara. We're only a small regional show, but we've got you clued out. The trouble is the rats are deserting the ship. Get with the program. Figure out that you need to do something now in order to save the Liberal Party, because if you continue this course, the Liberals will be nothing at the next election.
They'll be destroyed. And right now, I see he's got his pride, and he wants to fight and turn this around, and he doesn't want to quit. Those things are admirable, but on the other hand, his idea is he doesn't have a reality. He needs a reality check there, and if he doesn't, he will be seen as a very selfish leader who took his own ambitions over and above that of the Liberal Party. They're going to get crushed in the next election, and Jagmeet Singh better watch it too, because people aren't too happy about him as well.
Yeah.
So So maybe I'll revise my prediction to 211. All right. I will revise my statement. As I've said all along, 211 will be the time when he moves.
Okay. So Peter Biker is saying dogpiling on Trudeau is not helpful at this point. It's a corrupt process that needs immediate attention because our future is still being written. That's very true. Right. The proof is in the pudding. Our government does not see the homeless problem caused by them. Again, true. Yeah.
They just say, because of the world circumstances, the worldwide inflation, and when the government starts to focus on things that are happening all over the world instead of what's happening at home, we've got these problems. Oh well, yeah, it's happening everywhere else. Things are happening everywhere else, similar to what's happening in Canada, but ours is happening worse than anywhere else, and that's because it was an unwise immigration program. To bring in as many as they did, unwise student program, and unwise temporary worker program, which means we have 4.5 million people that have to leave the country. And when asked how is that going to happen, they say they're going to just trust people to do it on their own. Oh yeah. What? Oh, geez. Oh God!
And it's like,
can you imagine in the States
of that kind? Yeah.
Can you imagine the States? Hey, all you illegals, we're depending on you to leave.
We're going to give you 6 months to leave. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it?
No.
Okay. You put up a very late article, but this one's an important one. Loneliness, particularly at Christmas, is an epidemic. One of the things that Angela has been talking about over the last few months is about loneliness being an epidemic. Niagara Falls Church is hosting a Christmas Eve dinner and gift giveaway for people in need. So in 1992, when this all started, 12 men showed up at a Christmas Eve dinner in a church basement in Niagara Falls. Now they're expecting more than 550 people to attend the Niagara Worship Center festive get-together at Club Italia. That's tomorrow, isn't it? Or is it Saturday?
Well, it's the 19th today.
Yeah.
The 21st will be Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Saturday. And, so Club Italia, everybody knows where that is. And basically, I think that's kind of, so they've basically been recognizing that loneliness is an epidemic and that we need to do something about it. And part of this challenge here is to bring gifts and actually help for the giveaway on Christmas Eve.
This is a very positive thing because loneliness is epidemic, and as a matter of fact, they're saying people come all the way from Toronto just to be in a place where other people are around Christmas Eve, because a lot of people don't have anywhere to go for Christmas. Their families they don't have families, or their families are at distant places, and a lot of these people are just damn poor. So they don't have a place to go. They don't have a place to be at Christmas, which is sad in itself. But this is a place in which you can get together with other people, have a meal. There's I think a prayer service, or there's the religious aspect of Christmas is taken care of as well. You'll get a gift, get a nice meal, you get to hang out with other people. They've moved it from the church on Dorchester and Frederica to Club Italia because this thing has expanded, and it's nice to know that they have free transportation to this event too. So at the end of the article, it shows you there are a number of places: bus route number 1, La Cocos, Maple Leaf Place, River Road, the train station, post office. All these places you can get a bus number 1, bus route number 2, Niagara Worship Center in Frederica, Wholesale Club, Oaks. If you go to the article, you'll find all the different places where you can jump on a bus and go to the Club Italia and get off and have yourself a nice dinner and a nice Christmassy celebration where you can hang out with other people and just enjoy the company of others, which so many people can't do these days. And when talking to the Salvation Army and Project and the Soup Kitchen at different times, I've heard that a lot of very lonely seniors are out there. They're all cloistered up in their little place. They really can't go very far or haven't got the means to, and they're lonely. They've got nowhere to go, as well as being poor. So not all these people are going to be poor. Most of them are just going to be people who just want to go where other people are because there's no other place for them. It's a sad state of affairs that this is happening in our society. On one end of it, there's a vast loneliness, and on the another end of it is a growing homeless population.
Yeah,
I don't know. These are something in a society that has so much, and we are in a country that's safe, usually mostly safe from wars and other terrible things that can happen to us. Even here, we're even safe from major weather events most of the time.
Yeah, we are.
Super bad snowstorm. We live in a country where all those advantages should have us a vibrant, happy society, but we seem to be going the other way. And so we have large groups of lonely people and large groups of homeless people. It just doesn't speak well of how our civilization is moving.
Yeah.
Anyway, Christmas is for people to get together, and hopefully some of these people find some sort of feeling of belonging when they go to these Christmas dinners and events that the church has put on.
Yeah.
The Church of the Good Shepherd.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on from that, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses has pointed out that GST holidays is optional, and many businesses can choose to charge or remit GST on exempt items, even though this holiday has been declared by the government. One of the big problems I see with this holiday is being that this GST holiday hasn't really been, it doesn't take into consideration how confusing it is for businesses to change at a whim and not charge HST on something.
Well, I tell you, my own particular problem, as you know, our club worked with Staples, and we got a lot of donations for the local schools. So we've got $10,000 for 5 different schools. 2 of the schools have got their stuff, and I went to get the school supplies for a 3rd school yesterday, and they had rung up the total on December 10th. So I had to leave the stuff there so they could re-ring it all up for after December 14th in an attempt to save some money from the GST, but not all of the things are covered. That's why they couldn't just give you a blanket reduction on the GST. So there's a problem there. Some of the smaller businesses, this is putting a strain on them. We found out from Karen Fraser, who sent us an article or tipped us off actually that if the stores can't handle the technology of switching over, you have to then hold on to your receipts and send them in when you do your taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole point is that for many of these businesses, it's automatic. You zap the sales, the barcode. The store's item can detect whether the item under the barcode is an HST-able item or not. and then they'll calculate the HST on it, and they're made that way to suddenly turn them off. Big businesses can, because what they'll typically do is they'll reduce it. They'll calculate very quickly that the HST on this item is $1.14, and they'll reduce the price by $1.14 in order to fix that HST problem. They can turn it off in those programs with small tills. You can't do it so easily.
It worked in the liquor store yesterday for me when I went to buy a bottle of wine, because I was going to a party, so I wanted to buy a bottle of wine to give to the host of the party, and so I bought a bottle of wine. It was $20 basically. It was $19.90 or whatever. And I went to the teller, and they asked me if I wanted to give $2 for charity. And I said, yeah. Or, how you do at the liquor store, they ask you if you want to give to charity. So I said, yeah. So they rung in the $2, and I still only had to pay the same amount. So the HST, I know now the HST on that bottle of wine is $2.
You went to LCBO, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, so LCBO is a big store, and they've got systems in place that can easily just turn those on and off.
Right? But now I read an opinion article in the Globe and Mail, and so they're questioning. It was kind of like an angry article against Trudeau and the gimmicky kind of thing to buy votes with this. But he pointed out that, or she, I forget who the author was, pointed out that we're going to get a big break on booze. Whereas that's probably the last thing you want to give a break on, because the World Health Organization has determined that no amount of alcohol you drink is good for you, no matter how much. It's all bad for you, even a small amount.
Yeah.
So what are you doing here? You're encouraging people to buy more alcohol. Also, you can get, the article says they went to a grocery store, and their chip and junk food aisle had a big sign on it, no GST. So there you are again. Are you encouraging a lot of people to indulge a lot more in junk food, which over the space of, if it was just for Christmas, yeah, maybe, but over the space of a couple of months, you may be encouraging people to eat a lot more pop and chips and stuff that aren't really any good for you.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the question. Karen says she got her car fixed yesterday and paid $80 in HST. Yeah, that sort of thing happens, and it would be nice to get that back. If you're going to give an HST holiday, precisely that sort of thing comes back.
Yeah, the same article that I was reading said just like exactly what Karen has said here. If you've got an old clunker of a beat up car, not that Karen has one, but if you've got a beat up car and you have to keep that thing going because you don't have a whole lot of coin, a GST break on the repair of that car would go a long way. It also said they had mattresses that needed to be replaced because in their home, they imagined a home that really could use new mattresses or something more useful. A HST break on a new mattress, or something that you could really.
Yeah, and you see, so for some people, that $80 on an HST on fixing your car may make the difference to them in the world right now.
Yeah, well, if Karen, one good thing.
I'm not saying it's the case with Karen. I'm just saying that there are many people where the $80 difference in price tag for fixing their car may make a world of difference.
Well, on the positive side, because Karen had to pay that extra $80, she's got $80 less to buy booze. Booze and junk food, as if she's going to do that.
Well, and I'm not going to get into the booze and junk food business because that's a whole different argument.
Well, yeah, but the point was that we're, like Karen said, an $80 break on the car repair would make a real difference. A couple of cents break on a bag of Doritos or something, or some other junk food, wouldn't make much of a difference at all to the bottom line to most people. But it does, what it does do is it adds in a massive amounts of debt to the government. So that which you're supposed to be giving a holiday break for everybody is not going to make a whole lot of difference. It's going to make your booze cheaper, and it's going to make your junk food cheaper, but it's not going to make a whole lot of other things cheaper. And when it comes really down to the bottom line, it won't make a whole lot of difference to most people, but it will add an enormous amount of taxes that we will have to pay for this later anyway. So our taxes.
But again, that $80 that that $80 that Karen could have saved could have gone to kind of go out for a meal or something like that, right?
Could have gone to anything. It could have gone to my Christmas present.
I'm not asking for Christmas presents. It's but I'm just saying, they haven't thought that, they didn't think this out, and that was clear it was going to be a problem anyway.
Yeah. So, and the fact that they brought it in, they really didn't give everybody enough lead time to. It is definitely, they could talk themselves into anything, really. Oh, this is going to be great for Canadians. It's going to give them a break during the holidays. In the meantime, though, it's a thinly veiled attempt to become more popular. Trudeau has found his popularity waning incredibly, so he's trying to buy a little popularity. It won't work. It won't work at all. If he was in between, if he had won an election and then the next year gave the GSD holiday, that would mean a lot more, because he wouldn't be looking for votes, would he? But now it's a thinly veiled attempt, gimmicks, as the former finance minister Freeland has said. It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
And it will add a pile more money that we're going to have to pay for later anyway.
Yep, absolutely.
The pain.
Yeah. Okay. South Niagara Shelter is actually having an public open house, right? So for those in the community interested in seeing how the shelter is set up, it's on Friday, December 20th, 2:30 till 4 p.m. And I believe this is Ontario Road in Welland. All right, so that's where I believe the South Niagara Shelter is. So this is New South Niagara Temporary Emergency Shelter. Is open to the public as 851 Ontario Road, Welland, and supports 50 to 60 adults. So they'll be having an open day this Friday afternoon.
Yeah. So that's check it out.
Yeah. And I just wanted to put that out there so that everybody's aware of it. If you're interested in going along, maybe supporting them, there's your opportunity. All right.
Well, talking about shelters and things like that, there is a very, very what I haven't seen in the newspaper. I don't know why yet, but there was a discussion in the last council meeting about sort of halfway houses and places for temporary homes for the homeless, people suffering from homelessness and stuff on Buchanan Avenue and Summer Street. And what the neighborhoods are doing is getting a lot of crime, people being robbed, and all kinds of other things that are happening in these neighborhoods. Now, these places that are set up are supposed to be temporary shelters and homes for those people who are on the edge of society, but it has had a detrimental effect on the neighborhoods around it. So that's something we might be able to talk about tomorrow. if you go to if you go to the last council meeting, last one or the one before that, you'll see that. And I'm very surprised I haven't seen it in the paper. I don't know if I missed it or not, but that's something worth talking about, because in a time where our homeless situation is getting bad, and of course we have soft hearts towards those people on the edges of society, when you bring those people into a neighborhood and you try to counsel them inside a typical neighborhood, we find a whole lot of negative results, where you have more police, flak jackets. When the neighbor, one spokesman at city council said that when the police would show up and they would have flak jackets and shields on and tell everybody to go into a lockdown, get into your basement, because just in case the bullets start flying. Imagine that in your own neighborhood.
I'm sorry, that's not what you want in this situation, right?
We talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, but because I just given everybody a heads up where to find it or see it.
So in terms of going back to this question about loneliness, Peter Biker's making the point. Our miseducated youth are taught to become activists in lieu of inspiring them to contribute as an interested citizen. Their sense of loyalty must be nurtured more and manipulated less. So I see it where I came from, Peter. Gangs, so-called, it's their people can't walk in the street. Safely take a look.
Yeah, well, one of the stories the fellow, the spokesperson on Buchanan Street said was that they had an American couple staying there, probably in a bed and breakfast or an Airbnb type place, and they were robbed. They were robbed by a woman, a junked out woman.
Yeah,
and their stuff was taken, and the phone was stolen. As a matter of fact, they found the phone and it had been tossed on the roof of the actual spokesperson at that meeting. So now you have 2 American tourists that will not come back here ever.
Yeah,
great, just great.
Yeah, and generally speaking, the impression most Americans have of Canada is, hey, very, very American-like, but no crime.
Less crime. Yeah, and less guns too. That's
less guns, less crime. Yeah.
So, yeah, well, when you get homeless people, vagabonds of that kind, you're going to get crime. And if you take a lot of them and put them in the same place, you have concentrated crime. And that's the problem with putting homeless people, trying to put them all in the same place. You have compounded trouble, compounded problems. And
well, one of the things that Angela and I were discussing yesterday on Spin Legal was that if you look at the poorest members of our population, whether they be the homeless, the percentage of homeless that are on drugs, that have, serious problems with drugs, serious problems with alcoholism, etc., is about the same as the number of the most poorest of our communities that are still housed, that have their drug problems, that have their alcoholism problems. And the percentages for both those groups are around about the same.
There's a lot of unhappiness in our society. And the escape from that is substance, fentanyl or whatever else you want. If it's not fentanyl, it'd be cocaine. If it's not cocaine, it'd be heroin. If it's not heroin, it would be methamphetamine. It just one thing after another, booze even. So when you're an unhappy person, you're looking for relief from your unhappiness, and a quick fix for that is a snort of coke or some such thing.
Yeah.
And aside from those things being addictive, they're addictive in 2 ways: physically, but also emotionally. And you know, psychologically, you go about your unhappy life, you take a snort of coke or you do a bit of fentanyl, and suddenly you feel happy and pretty good. It's a temporary fix, but you don't forget the relief you got, and then you go look for it again.
Yep.
And as this has happened, your life is falling down around you because you're devoting more and more resources to that quick fix of, it's just, I don't know, if you have an unhappy society, these things are going to happen. We hear all this stuff about all this rage about fentanyl and stuff coming in from the border, but before fentanyl, it was cocaine and other drugs coming in from either Mexico or, in our case, sometimes from the United States. No one's talking about the real issue here, and is the extraordinary appetite we have in North America for recreational, so-called recreational drugs.
Mm-hmm.
We have an insane appetite for them.
Yeah.
And as long as that appetite increases, you're never going to stop the crime that's around it. You can stop everybody at the border, but somehow, some way, they're going to get through.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that same problem.
Okay. Peter Biker's making the point: an underground economy runs on pain, and that's for sure. We have that underground economy, and it is flourishing right now.
Yes, sadly it is. And how do you stop it when you get the port of Vancouver can only look at 1% of, or less than, what was it, 1 out of every 1,000 containers, or 1 out of, anyway, it's a very small amount. They have the facility to check when the container ships come in. And when a lot of that stuff is going to the States via Vancouver or other places in Canada, how can you really stop a drug trade when when you can't stop it from coming into your country?
Can I repeat those stays? What stays?
Which stays are those?
Oh, were you saying? Okay, so I think what Chris is talking about is we were talking about. I was talking with Angela, and she's done some statistical analysis upon this. So, if you take 2 sets of people, one homeless and one the most poor who are still housed, you look at issues like alcoholism, issues like drug usage, etc. The percentages in the homeless community match more or less the percentages in our most poor community that are not homeless.
Oh, sure.
So it's in our lowest echelons of society. Alcoholism and drug addiction is actually at a pretty well a par, whether you're housed or not.
Yes, yeah, that is indisputable. That's been going on generation after generation after generation. The poorer parts of town have always had that problem,
And so, funnily enough, one of them which didn't get mentioned there, of course, is thefts and that sort of thing. Crime.
Well, it usually goes hand in hand with drugs.
Yeah. You've got alcoholism, drug addiction, and crime that is at a particular level in those areas. And that's not to say that every homeless person is a criminal. No, they are not. There are many homeless people that have got the same moral values as the rest of us. Right? It's just that those economic conditions cause people to actually take the route of crime.
Yeah.
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 Right. So Betty's saying the government had a lot to do with it. How to raise your kids messed up for a lot of people with their kind of discipline. Now there's none. Well, the other thing is about raising your kids. I think that parents have got a lot to do with raising their kids, and they've basically been ignoring that responsibility. Orwell wrote that the primary utility of war is the total destruction of society.
A society
that has outgrown its government.
Yeah, that's a that's pretty complicated Orwellian stuff. It's really not that complicated, though. It is a matter of power and how to hold power and how to guide people. Like the Romans had the best idea ever. They have a massive group of unruly citizens, possibly unruly citizens. So what do? You make sure you give them bread. So that's what they did. They get free bread, and they get to go to the Colosseum and watch a lot of brutal, cruel entertainments. And that was to pacify them. Many people, including Noam Chomsky, has pointed out that our big sporting events, our big football games, hockey games, basketball games, the huge events, sporting events, are a means by which to distract people from their pains and to keep them keep them ignorant of the real issues going on out there. Very similar to what the Romans did by having these shows in the Colosseum or the Circus Maximus.
Yeah.
To keep people.
Well, in fact, actually, that's a large amount about it. Is that the Super Bowl is like attending the gladiatorial thing in event in Rome.
Yeah, and look at the Taylor Swift concerts nowadays. Not only is it like people are attending these things and making it very clear that they've attended it, because it is social status now. You are able to get into a Taylor Swift concert because the tickets are so dear that it's a point of status, and people who already have, like Justin Trudeau went to a Taylor Swift concert with his kids in Toronto. He wanted to make sure everybody saw that. Of course, it kind of backfired on him because they had a riot in Montreal at the same time while he was there. So he wasn't available to make any kind of pronouncements at that time. But
yeah, but again,
if that riot hadn't happened, then he would just say that, here he is, Mr. Groovy Guy. He's gone to a Taylor Swift concert, So it's a moment, kind of a status symbol. If you get to go to the Super Bowl, it's kind of like status, man. You got to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I remember when I was, Super Bowl, exactly that sort of thing. And you think about it, there is a status symbol. I can remember when I was a kid, though, I went to the FA Cup final in the 70s. It was a status because our team got to the FA Cup final, right? It was a status that way, but the cost of going to the FA Cup final at Wembley was not so outrageous you couldn't afford it. You might have had to have begged, borrowed, and stolen to get the money, but it wasn't like thousands of dollars to go and get a ticket, which it undoubtedly is now.
Beg, borrowed, and steal. So crime rates go up when the FA Cup comes to your town. You'll find the crime rates go up.
No, well, I meant soft. When I said beg, borrowed, and steal, it was the. I didn't mean that it was a crime.
Of course you didn't.
It wasn't difficult to get the money to go to to go there. In fact, it cost more to get to London than it did to get into Wembley.
What about an FA Cup final now?
Well, an FA Cup final now, the chances are that you're going to be paying $1,000, $1,000 or £1,000 or more.
Yeah. So this idea of I noticed this when I go to lacrosse games fairly often, and it's an event thing. And anytime I go to a hockey game too, there's a lot of events. Like I go there to watch the hockey game. I don't care about all that BS, shirts and mascots and all that other stuff. I come there to watch the skills of the hockey player. When I go to a lacrosse game, I want to see lacrosse. I don't care about the music. I don't care about the song and dances in between. I don't care about the half show. I do care about in lacrosse. I do care about the the entertainment between periods, because they're usually scantily dressed women with pom poms. So I really do appreciate the performing arts in that particular case. But I will tell you that I'm there to watch the lacrosse game, and I don't think a lot of other people are there to watch the lacrosse game as much as I am. They were there to cheer the goofy stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
But they make an event. And I think that's the issue that we have to have.
So Betty's saying last time you went to a concert is 21. I was 21. My brother took me to see Loretta Lynn, and she loves her music. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Can't say much about your taste, but hey, that's fine.
Coal miner's daughter.
Yeah, and yeah, me too, Betty. Right, says Peter. Yeah, and so yeah, essentially, I went a long time ago. The last time I went to a concert, David Bowie, Milton's Keen's Bowl, probably about 1982. Right.
I can't remember the last time.
Such a long time ago.
Yeah, I went to a whole bunch of them. I went to the famous one that was at Ivor Wynne Stadium with Pink Floyd was there in June. Just about everybody and their brother went there. Everybody, the brother, sister, and cousin was there. It was awesome. I mean, they had a light show thing with a big screen behind them with. But it didn't really work out that well in the very beginning because it was summertime it's like it was happening right near the solstice, and the light stayed on for a long time. So when the band finally got on and they had their big screen behind them with their kind of videos that were going on behind them, you couldn't see them as well as you should have because there was still light in the sky.
Yeah,
when they started their concert.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So the other thing that happens at this time of year, Niagara Regional Police reported an uptick in vehicle thefts, motor vehicle thefts.
Merry Christmas, ho ho ho! Somebody got a new truck.
Yeah,
it was stolen.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, you never give me anything. Well, here's this new truck.
What new truck?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2023, more than 70,000 private vehicles were stolen across Canada, with more than 30,000 in Ontario, according to Equity Association, the anti-crime organization funded by insurance companies.
Yeah, this is a hot topic for the Trudeau government. Again, this is something that they ignored when the uptick in vehicle thefts happened. They had the soft on crime sort of ideas that they have, and they didn't chase it down. They're proponents of this. If you're soft on criminals, it's easier for them to rehabilitate. But they don't have the formula right, obviously. And what's happening is there's an uptick in all kinds of crime in Canada because of our soft approach, partly because of our soft approach, and cars are one of those things. Interesting. And I think it's an ethnic thing too.
Interesting thing last week, Dave, is that I actually was, for the one time I actually went and looked at my Gmail account at work during work hours. Well, it wasn't during work hours, it was 5:30, but I was still at work. So at 5:30, I went coincidentally because I was looking for something else in my Gmail, and what popped up was a vehicle alert from my car. So it said an alarm was triggered on your car. Like, that's a first. So I went to the car park, and went and got the car. Couldn't see any reason why there was a vehicle alarm. Probably what happened is somebody had tripped and fallen against it or something like that.
I don't know. It's peculiar. I don't know, but anyway, there are certain cars you got to be careful too. There's trucks were a
Yeah.
big thing. They were being stolen and taken to the res. I think they pretty much stopped a lot of that right now. But there are a whole bunch of different cars that are very popular to be stolen. Um, it looks like they got people tipping them off too. Dealers and car dealers and other uh, are getting hacked or whatever, and so the thieves are being told where cars are of interest.
Yeah. Well, you
There are a
remember
certain bunch of car. There's a certain kind of car that are more popular to be stolen because they can then be shipped overseas and they get top dollar for them. Actually,
Yeah.
things like the Honda Accord, for one, was one many years ago. So there are certain cars, and you'll have to pay more insurance on those cars that
Well,
are more
the
popular.
interesting thing is about this, when you think about the use of technology in cars, there's absolutely no reason why, if your car is stolen, that you can't push a button on a remote app that says safely stop this vehicle and sound the alarm.
That may be coming, but the anti-theft thing is supposed to work, and we found that guy. It was very public
Well,
where
we
his
talked
truck
about,
was stolen. It
yeah,
was taken. His truck was stolen, and then it was taken to the docks in Montreal, and he was able to lead the police right to the docks. My truck is in there, one of the containers, but the police did not have the ability to get in there. The immigration, the port authorities didn't have the ability also to find it. He was able to track his truck all the way somewhere to the Middle East,
yeah.
uh, and there they were able to track it. And I think probably maybe then they were able to send it back. But that gives you an idea how we are very, very much behind in law enforcement when we
Well,
know that a truck is right there in that compound, but
yeah,
we can't get it.
yeah, we
And the
know
guy
it's
can
in
walk
that
right up to
container.
the container and say, "This container," you know.
Yeah, we can know it's in that container right there, right?
But for some reason, they can't open it and get the truck out.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It is,
You
and
know,
that is because the Canadian law enforcement is very much behind, and that's due to reduced investments in those areas. It's another stroke against the federal government. They
but
haven't concentrated enough in growing crime.
when you consider, I've seen recently car ads that basically saying, where Dave comes up to me and says, Peter, can I borrow your car? I just need to go wherever, right? And all he does is type something on his phone and transfers the car. Dave, you can use it now. Dave now takes the car up to the phone, up to the app, up to the thing, goes it to the car door, opens the car door, and can drive away without a key.
Well, maybe that's coming. It may be.
It's actually a current car advert. It is current car advert. It's not coming. It is here for brand new cars today. So you have the control over the thing on your phone. Right?
Okay.
It's not on my car. It may not be on your car, but it is
but
here.
that could be perfectly safe. That could be perfectly safe. Yeah. You know, the car I just bought, all I have to do is have the key in my pocket and press the start button, and away we go.
I didn't even press the start. Yeah, okay, you press the start button in the car.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to get used to that. But the cars and that are currently being cars and trucks that are currently being stolen in Niagara, a lot of them are people who start them up and let them run to get warm in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And then go back inside or whatever. That's a thing we all used to do.
Yeah, but
we had no problem with that starting up your car and going back in your house, waiting for it to warm up, and leaving the keys in there while you get ready for work. Well, nowadays you can't do that because someone's going to steal your car. Sadly,
but there's also an app for that, or more correctly, there's a button on your phone. I got a little button which is a round circle that says push that button twice and it will start your car.
Well, yeah,
the car remains locked.
But yeah, okay, but they're not talking about those kind of cars. They're talking about keys in the ignition, and that's clearly what it said in the article. If you've got you still have a key and you've got your car started warming up and you leave the car, or you leave your keys in the car like people used to always do, put them maybe under the mat or something like that. That used to be a common practice.
Oh yeah,
I remember saying, "Oh, go grab my car and move it over that be on the work site or something." I said, "Or go grab the truck." He says, "Well, give me the keys." Well, they're in it. They're in the ashtray or they're under the front seat. That kind of thing. Well, those are the kind of vehicles that are being stolen. The people that do that. So our old habits that were just fine for a different time are not good anymore. So you're going to have your keys. You can't let the car warm up with the key in the ignition like we used to.
Yeah.
So and car theft is just on the rise all over the place. Also, if you're smart, look at the kind of car you have and see how frequently those particular cars are stolen. If you've got a brand new Audi or something like that, or even a secondhand Audi or a Honda or something, there are a certain cars that are big item cars that are stolen.
And you would be surprised at the types of cars they are. They are often run-of-the-mill cars and not your exceptional, your high-class car, so to speak.
Yeah, there's two. They will steal a lot of high-class cars and they'll get money for them. But what is in demand in places like Africa or the Caribbean, different countries in Africa and Caribbean, are the very solid, reliable cars like Honda Accords or other cars that have a very long shelf life and are very reliable cars that generally don't need a whole lot of repair. Yeah. So those are the ones that are being stolen and sent overseas.
Yeah. Interesting is an interesting thing. I found out the other day that, in fact, actually, I don't quite know how this works in relation to the rest of trucks and things like that coming across the border, but Kenya will not allow you to import a left-hand drive car. If you're going to be using a car in Kenya, it has to be right-hand drive.
Well, it makes sense. They drive on the left, right?
Yeah, they drive exactly. Yeah. But it's weird because I can take a left-hand drive car to the UK, without any difficulty at all.
Well, obviously, Kenya's smarter than the Brits.
No, I think they're being protective of their own auto industry.
It could be. It could be. It gets a little bit difficult in Southeast Asia, whereas in Thailand, the first thing you notice, they all drive on the left-hand side of the road. But Burma or Myanmar on one flank of it, and Cambodia and Laos on the other flank are left-hand drive cars, but the ones in Thailand are left-hand drive cars. I mean, right-hand drive cars. So in Thailand, you drive on the left side of the road like the Brits, and the countries that are adjacent to it, they drive on the right-hand side of the road.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's the same like so in Kenya, they drive on the left, as does Tanzania and Uganda. But you go outside those three countries, you've got to drive to Sudan, for example, in the north, or Somalia and the northeast. They are both right-hand drive countries.
Yeah, and Somalia would have started off as a left-hand drive country too. Left side of the road too when they were under British authority there. When I was in Zimbabwe, I had to rent a right-hand drive car, obviously, because they drive on the left-hand side. In South Africa too, I think. So there's, I think only about 30% of the countries drive on the left-hand side of the road anymore. The British started doing it because they needed to have their sword hand available back in the day. That was the reason why they were on the left-hand side when they were, because if they were on the left-hand side, that kept their sword hand available to come out like this.
So
something like that.
You drive on the right so that you have your sword hand available. And it used to be the way that you would drive, your cart, horse and cart.
Well, the horse and cart, the right-hand drive thing came mostly from France. I think.
France did it the other way.
It had to do with carts and horses.
Well, actually, France, it did have to do with France exactly did it because actually Napoleon, who's the big champion of driving on the right, because he hated everything the British did. Right? So he's the originator of driving on the right. Henry Ford basically just, what happened is the US was actually half the states were one way, half the other.
That's right.
Henry Ford basically said, no, you cannot be half. You've got to be all in one direction because I need to build cars that are all one type. So Henry Ford basically jumped for left-hand drive cars, and that's why America adopted driving on the right.
Yeah, he made the final decision. If you go, I went to a car museum. I went to a car museum down in Florida, and they had all the old early American cars in there, all kinds of them, and some of them are right-hand drive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Henry Ford, I get it. Henry Ford was 100% right. But anyway, we're massively over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chatting away here about right-hand and left-hand car. Yeah, I think we lost our audience when we started down that road. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you to pray for peace. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and thank you, everybody. Have a great day.